Hello everyone. For those of you that burn paper waste or like to burn some firewood outside for heat when you're hanging out outside, this is the video for you. I'm building a oil drum burn barrel, and I want to improve on it a little bit. The easiest way to make a burn barrel is just to cut off the top of the barrel, maybe cut some air holes in the bottom, and light your stuff on fire in there. And that works well and good, but it's dangerous because all the embers, especially from paper, can easily just blow right out the top. And unless it's snowy or extremely wet, there's a chance of those embers catching something on fire. So I'm going to walk you through my burn barrel build. Got a nice fresh oil drum here, and I thought I had some more chimney pipe, but that's all I have. I have an elbow that I straightened out. That's going to be the chimney. And then in the front, as I have roughly marked out by Sharpie, there's going to be a front loading door. I'm going to put 2 hinges on it and a little latch. On the bottom, I'm going to have an ash door and a little latch and, hinged. I'm going to poke a bunch of air holes in the bottom. And then right around that first ridge, I'm going to poke some more holes and run rods through it for a grate, or I might have some sort of a grate in the scrap pile. And then the very top, see, I just use this as a painting surface, that's why it's red. I have this half moon shape, half circle, which I will cut out and then put a hinge there and a latch there so you can also lift it and load it from the top. And so that'll contain most of the sparks and everything. But then this chimney here, I'm going to make some sort of a mesh, steel mesh spark arrestor that I'm going to fasten over that, which will allow exhaust flow, but it will catch any embers. That's the basics of it. The other thing, I will also probably poke some holes around maybe here somewhere to let more air in and completely burn it, because I don't like making excessive smoke. And sometimes when you only have air in the bottom, some stuff can smolder, and that smoke is just unburnt fuel. So if you allow some more air to come in the top, it'll help burn that smoke, and it should create some pretty clean exhaust. So let's get cutting. Alright, so I did a better job marking out the doors for the loading door and the ash door. And you see I cut only the vertical cuts. I left the horizontal cuts untouched for now. And you'll see why in a minute. It'll help align the doors. Now as for the hinges, I made these 2 sets of hinges. They're not done yet. It's I don't know, inch by 3/16 inch by quarter stock. I chopped the corners here to kind of round them off a little bit so the corners don't interfere when they rotate. And of course I drilled a hole. And this rod here, this 5/16 rod, is going to go through here for the hinge. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a short piece, maybe, I don't know, 1 inch maybe. Run it through one of these, let it stick out just a little bit on one side, weld it, and then do the same on one other one. And then the 2 pieces with the stud will go on the door, and these 2 pieces with a hole will go on the barrel. And then the door can be easily installed and removed. And you don't have to deal with any bolts or nuts or anything. It's just a simple stud. You could run this bar through the entire length of it and just put like a cotter pin on either side, but that uses more material, and this is a nice bar. I don't want to use too much of it. So I just welded the hinges on. See, the studded hinges are on the door side on the top. And I made care to align them perpendicularly to the slot and also to align that peg right on center of the cut. Burn through over there. So the hinge should not bind up too much. So now I'm going to make a latch for the other side and then cut the top and bottom. Alright, now I'm working on the latches. It's pretty simple. I've got this bent piece of round stock here. This curve will match the curve of the barrel. Then I've got the little latch piece, which is just a flat piece of metal with a little notch cut into it. And it'll be welded on the barrel like this. And then when the door closes on it, it'll kind of lock into that little notch. So let's weld it on there. Alright, I just welded the latch handle and the latch block onto the door. Yeah, I burned through it there, and I didn't chip the slag off, so it looks like junk. And actually, I'm really not trying to make that pretty of a weld, so don't judge me here. It's just going to get burned out and rusted up anyway. So now that we got the hinges on and the latch on, now I can make these last two cuts. And the door and the latch and the hinges will all be perfectly aligned. So let's get out the angle grinder and make those last two door cuts. Alright, I just made the last two cuts, and the latch needed a little trimming and the hinges need a little trimming for it to work smoothly, but that's to be expected. Also, the latch doesn't work quite as well as I thought, but that doesn't really matter. Anyway, there you go. And of course, once the barrel's upright, this latch will probably hold on a little better. So there's the ash door done. Now I'm just going to do the same thing to the loading door. Alright, so I cut a half moon out of the top for the top loading feature. For reference, the flue is going to be in the back and the doors are in the front. So I just weld the little handle and two little pins there for hinges. Lift it up, drop it down. It doesn't have any feature to keep it lifted up unless you tilt all the way back against the flue. But it's not that big of a deal. Just lift it up with one hand, throw stuff in, drop it down. Of course, you need to hold this with a piece of firewood or something because you can't grab this by hand when it's hot, obviously. Okay, now what I'm going to do is cut some air holes. Firstly, I'm going to cut some holes around the bottom below the grate, and the grate is going to go right at that first ridge. I'm going to cut a couple holes in the bottom, and I'm also going to cut some holes above the grate, about there, in an effort to introduce some secondary burn air into the flames and smoke to help get nice, clean exhaust. Whether that'll work or not, I've got no idea, but I'm going to try it and see. So I'm going to show you a nifty way to cut some holes in a pinch. It doesn't do a good job, but it gets the job done if you don't feel like using a cutting torch or if you don't have one. So I'm going to use my arc welder, crank it up, maximum amperage, and use some 1/8 inch 6011. And 6011 is a nice good digging rod, very aggressive, and it'll cut right through this. So I'll show you. Alright, so I've got the barrel set up. I'm going to cut these two holes here in the video, then I'll go and cut the rest off camera. So I got the welder cranked up and some 1/8 inch 6011, and the door is open. This will probably make a lot of smoke. And probably should put the ground down. That'll help. All right. that's smoky. Alright, so looks like I got some flames going on in there, but that's about it. Okay, so I got all the holes cut with the arc welder. I moved it outside because I was making a lot of smoke. Now it's back in, and I'm going to try something. I don't know if this is going to work or do what I intend, or maybe not do anything at all, who knows. But I put this baffle in here, and you see that the flue is going to be right there where the filler hole is, where the ground clamp is. And I put this baffle in, I'm going to belt to weld it in, and my concept is that it will cause the smoke to swirl around a little bit. It won't go straight up the exhaust. And that swirling smoke will help burn it more completely and, again, minimize smoke. So I'm going to weld this in there, and who knows if it will work. And I guess I got no real way of knowing because I'm not going to try it but with and without. But I don't know, we'll see. Okay, well, I tried to weld in that spacer. It was kind of tough because all the thin paint-coated, oil-coated sheet metal and everything, but I don't know, we'll see. If it falls off, it falls off. And I got the flue installed. I had a cleaner idea of doing this, but I decided just to hack a hole in there with an angle grinder, and I just shoved this tube in there, and it'll work fine. It doesn't look great, but it'll work fine. And the last thing I did, I put a grate in there. I cut a slot in the front and slid it in. And then I marked where the corners would hit on the other side of the drum. And I cut a little slot in there, and the corners of the grate are resting there. This is an oven grate, I believe. We'll see how long it lasts. The best way to do it would be to put a bunch of holes around the circumference and run some rebar through it. That would make a really heavy-duty grate. Grate would probably last longer than the barrel itself. Okay, so aside from a test run, I'd say this thing's complete. The last thing I did, this is one of the other safety factors. I put a spark screen, spark arrestor, over the exhaust pipe. I made that nice dome by laying the flat piece of mesh over, and I kind of punched it down to make it the dome, and then I, flipped it around and just twisted it on with a piece of wire. I don't know how long this will last because this is just window screen. It's aluminum. I don't know. It might last because it's not too hot here. Because if it was inside the firebox, it would burn right up. But whatever, I've got more of it, so it's not too big of a deal. And the other thing, walking past this every once in a while when I was working on it, I caught myself so many times in the pants leg with these handles. And I said, if it's bad enough when I'm working on it, I don't want to catch myself on it when I'm actually burning stuff in it. So I just heated these up and gave them a little bend around, so they're shorter, and they also don't have the plain cut edge sticking out. So you're gonna have to use pliers or a stick to open this anyway, so it's not like it's gonna hamper the usability of it. Okay, here's the burn barrel. We've already used it a couple times. It works pretty good. So figured I'd end this video with a shot of us burning some of our paper garbage in it, so we'll fire it up and show you how it works. All right, well, that's it. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to give it a thumbs up and come back for more.